Approximately halfway through the novel Little Dorrit, the setting of the action moves to Switzerland. There, a party of travelers are climbing the historic Great St. Bernard Pass in order to take refuge for the night at the convent of the Great St. Bernard Hospice. Throughout its history, the hospice has gained a worldwide reputation for its employment of St. Bernard dogs in rescue efforts. As darkness falls over the mountains, the arrival at the monastery is recounted in a manner that is reminiscent of Dickens's dramatic style and the dismal mood. A grisly description of a morgue for the frozen dead is then provided as the live travelers congregate nearby for warmth and shelter. The location of the mortuary is just a stone's throw away. It is important to quote the paragraph in its entirety. There, too, quietly gathering in a grating house half a dozen paces away, with the same cloud enfolding them and the same snowflakes falling in upon them, were the dead travelers discovered atop the mountain. This was all taking place while all of this mayhem and commotion was going on among the live travelers. The woman, who had been frightened by a storm many winters ago, was still standing in the corner with her child at her breast. The man, who had frozen with his arm raised to his mouth in terror or hunger, was still pressing it with his parched lips after years and years of waiting. Unbelievably, a terrible business organization has come together. An incredible foresight on the part of that mother to have predicted. Surrounded by so many and such companions upon whom I have never looked, and upon whom I will never look any longer, I and my child will dwell together inseparable on the great St. Bernard, outlasting generations who will come to see us, and they will never know our name, or one word of our story other than the end. There is a sense of profound melancholy and a hushed fear in this scenario. I was intrigued by the brief description of, so I did some more research on it and discovered that Dickens had discovered the mortuary when he was traveling in Switzerland in the year 1846. Switzerland was a location that Dickens loved and had visited on several occasions during his life. One of the most intriguing pieces of background information on the scenario in Little Dorrit is found in a letter that he sent to his friend and biographer, John Forster. It looked as if Dickens was both enthralled and scared by the environment, and he described the desolation of the area with a certain relish. I pray to God that you are able to visit that location. There was a large depression on the peak of a range of terrible mountains, which was surrounded by riven rocks of every form and color. In the middle of the hollow was a dark lake, and phantom clouds were constantly hovering over it. There are peaks, points, and plains of endless ice and snow that enclose the vista and block off the world on every side. The lake does not reflect anything, and there is not a single human being in the picture. The walls of the monastery are desolate and gray, and there is no sign of any living things or live interest in the image. No vegetation of any type or kind was present. There was no growth, and there was no movement. Every single item that was frozen and iron-bound. The outhouse that served as the morgue was located next to the convent, and it was crowded with people who had traversed the pass. The bodies that had not been claimed were displayed in the snow. They were not laid down or stretched out, but standing up, in corners and against walls. Some erect and horribly human, with distinct expressions on the faces. Some sunk down on their knees, some dropping over on one side, some tumbled down altogether and presenting a heap of skulls and fibrous dust. There is no other deterioration in that climate, and there they stay throughout the short days and the long nights, the sole human company out of doors, withering away by grains and retaining terrible possession of the mountain where they died. On a voyage that was fraught with peril from the elements and brigands, the Great St. Bernard Hospice was established in 1049 with the purpose of providing protection and refuge to travelers. Despite the fact that it continues to serve as a hospice for travelers and serves as a monastery, the mortuary looks to be sealed, which suggests that its previous residents have long since left. The fact that this was not some remote atrocity on alien lands that insulted the civilized sensibilities of a traveling British gentleman is a key point to keep in mind. It was not lost on Dickens that the burial grounds, hospitals, and churchyards of London contained many more horrifying things than he had suspected.